Miss White. Miss White, we're ready. Good evening. This is the August meeting of the Human Services Committee. We have a quorum. And could we get approval of the minutes of the June 3rd meeting? Good. It's been moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Just so our audience can know, we're making some changes in the agenda this evening. The first item for discussion, which would be our assessors report, we're going to move that down till we come to the township items. And we're going to first take HH7, which is the 2013 agreement with the Youth Job Center for building career pathways to sustainable employment. I think we have Mr. Brown here want to make a presentation? Thank you.
Good evening. We're going to let Mr. Dorniker begin, and I'll chime in where I need to. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the Human Services Committee. Bob Dorniker, Assistant Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services. Tonight we're proposing before you year 2 of an agreement with the Youth Job Center to provide 15 disconnected youth for unemployment training for low and moderate income. Year 1 was very successful. In fact, we have one member from the program with us here this evening, as well as Cecila Smith, who is Executive Director of the Youth Job Center, and we believe that they would like to say a few words about the program. This is a 2-year, just some information about the program. It's a 2-year program. Actually, it goes for 24 months. The front end of the program is where most of the primary work is completed with the individuals who are selected for the program. The selection process is outlined in your memo, as we've done in the past. It's a collaborative effort between the city staff of the Youth and Young Adult Outreach Division, as well as individuals from the community, such as District 202, District 65, as well as the Youth Job Center. We feel that year 1 was very successful. We've included a report in your packet that outlines all of the information that occurred during the year 1 of the process. Approximately the cost of participant is $5,000 for the program, and we, as I said, we had 15 individuals originally slated for the program, and we approximately had 20 that were completed.
Go ahead. Unless anybody had any questions, I don't see any lights. Okay, go ahead with your students, I guess. Is that what you want next?
If we could.
Absolutely.
Yes,
please do.
So I'm Dominique Ray. After hearing about the Youth Job Center, I participated in the Career Pathways program where I completed my OSHA training. I was also, I worked at the Robert Crown Center through the Career Pathways program. And after I completed my internship at the Robert Crown Center, the Youth Job Center helped me, and then I'm in I'm a part of my job now, and I'm at Remnant Services NFP, and I'll be working towards my DSP, my Direct Support Professionals certification. And I just feel like the Youth Job Center and Career Pathways program, it's a great opportunity for young people that really can't get out there and that really haven't had jobs and don't really have experience. And, and I think it's just really motivational for us young people. And it really helped me a lot because I'm moving towards a really great path right now. So, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening.
I just have 2 cents. I know that's surprising for me, right?
Yes.
First, I just want to say thank you to the the Human Services Committee for your support for this pilot initiative. Although we had 20 people that were part of the actual Career Pathways internship piece with the certification and training and 15 complete, we had approximately 65 referrals throughout the community from 4 individuals who also received additional services and whom we still continue to work for. Something else that needs to be clearly stated here is that, and I know it's in your report, but we worked with a number of individuals who had multiple challenges to just regular traditional employment, which is why this program is so key. Of the 80% of the individuals who we provided services to that had barriers or some challenges to employment, approximately 43% of those had criminal backgrounds. And these are our Evanston young people who really do want an opportunity to show that they are motivated and they are empowered to move in a different direction. So hopefully you all understand the value, the need for the program, and will support it, support the request.
Fantastic. Ms. Smith, I know who you are, but can you identify yourself and your agency?
I'm so sorry. I'm Cecilla Smith, the Executive Director of the Youth Job Center of Evanston.
Okay, hold on one second. Alderman Breathwaite, or was that Alderman Fisk? Alderman Fisk. I just can't figure out whose light it is. Okay.
Because we've moved all around. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm such a strong supporter of the program. It's wonderful to hear from at least one of the young people who are involved. And I'm just happy that it's working out and our cooperative agreement is working out with you. So please keep up the good work and let us know what we can do to help in the future.
Thank you. Keep funding us.
I know.
Thank you.
So do we need to make a motion to accept the report? Could we, Alderman Fisk, do you want to move that to approve or make a motion to continue with the agreement?
I do. I will make the motion that we continue with the agreement.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I should have asked if there was any other questions or comments. If not, Mr. Darnaker and Mr. Brown, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And just so people won't think I forgot, I did not forget citizens' comment. I'm going to call citizens' comment as we come to the items that are being discussed. We have only one citizen comment for a non-agenda item, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes. Okay. HH6, which is a tour and funding from Cook County Housing for lead paint. Our director, Ms. Thomas, do you want to make any comments about that, or you just want us to? Any questions? Anyone have any questions on it? You got your report. It's
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Alderman Breckwood would like a quick summary.
Good evening, Evanda Thomas Smith, Director of Health Department. Torrance funding comes from Cook County, Department of Public Health, and the City of Evanston serves as a pass-through for the funding. So what we do is when we get a notification from the state Public Health Department that there are children in our jurisdiction that have been exposed to lead poisoning, whether it's through the infrastructure of where they live or the daycare center where they may visit or the soil where they live. If there is a level of exposure that is unacceptable to the health department, we notify the state. that abatement needs to occur. And so we solicit vendors. We assure that the owner dwells at the property where the lead poisoning may exist, where there's exposure to a child that's less than 7 years of age. And we assure that all of those criteria are met. And then we notify the Cook County Department of Public Health that we have met the criteria, and so the remediation is done and completed. And so what you have before you is asking if we can pay those contractors that have done the abatement and remediation. And the dollar amount before you is $65,000, and we have $80,000 as a granted amount for the year.
Alderman Fisk.
I just had a question. I know Torrens through the Recorder of Deeds. Is this the funding is coming through?
Yes.
And is that because we're no longer using the Torrens system, so there's money in the Torrens system?
That is correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion?
No.
Motion. It's been moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Director
Thank you.
Thompson. Okay. Then we'll move now back up to the police complaints, the review of the police complaints. Commander Davis, you wanted to make comments?
Commander Diane Davis from the Evanston Police Department. The last time I was before you guys, I spoke to you about the new program. I shouldn't call it a program, just the new way of doing business in the Office of Professional Standards. Just a follow-up on that is that initiative is going extremely well, and that's why I'm bringing before you today the mid-year stats from the Office of Professional Standards. If you notice, and I did provide handouts for all of you guys so that you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. If you'll notice that the stats for 2013, 2012 are basically the same except for one category, and I wanted to bring that one category to your attention, and that's the category of citizens' complaints received. We've gone from 18 to 8, so we've significantly reduced the amount of complaints that we have received at mid-year, and I attribute that to some of it is the immediate attention and follow-up by the Office of Professional Standards, also the diligent adherence to the city's customer service policy, and our roll call training and our roll call reminders and our roll call trainings. If you'll notice the use of force, you don't see a significance there. However, you do see a huge significance in the complaints received. So that's a great accomplishment for the Office of Professional Standards.
Okay. All right.
Can you just run?
Go ahead.
Just quickly run through each subtitle, DIAR,
Oh.
ICR.
You have that department.
Yeah.
Oh well, you guys, I thought
Okay.
you knew the departmental inquiries,
Mm-hmm.
administrative reviews, miscellaneous investigations, citizen complaint reviews, and use of force.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do you have questions, Alderman Brathwaite?
Well, it's just more or less a comment. A few weeks ago, we met with the city manager and we looked at the past year. And one of the concerns that was brought forward by council was just the lack of, for lack of better words, customer service with some, not all, but
Okay.
some of the police officers. And so something that I think Alderman Holmes and I have always advocated for were just how citizens on the west side of Evanston were treated, and there's a perception that some people in town get treated differently than others. And over a period of 3 years, and I'm sure beyond that, we've seen those faces come up. So I think this is pretty interesting, the statistics of your report to say that the citizen reports are down, and you attribute it to
Our training, our roll call reminders that had been this board had brought to the police department's attention exactly what you just spoke of. And since then, we constantly have reminders and roll call about our behavior, our attitude, and how we are treating and respecting people on the streets. And I think the stats before you show that we've made a huge improvement in that area.
Sure. Well, I guess something that I would ask you to take back to the police force, we still, or I'll speak for the residents, I still hear the complaints. And so whether or not people are moving forward is always the question that I ask. When I hear someone make a complaint, I ask the question, have you taken the time to to go down to the police station and meet with whomever is in your office at the period of time. And so, although these numbers look good, I think that's something to celebrate. I think based on the comments that we've had within the last 30 days, I still think a lot of attention need to be paid for some of the officers, their interactions with residents. And it's now it's no longer limited to the West Side. It's all over all over the wards.
Well, our training at the police department is always ongoing, so it doesn't stop here. It's a continuous process. So I assume you're going to see even better results as the year progresses.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one citizen's comment on the police. Mrs. Dupree?
Sorry, forgot my glasses. My name is Madeline Dupree, resident of the 5th Ward, 1929 Foster Street. I wanted to touch base tonight. I'm glad Commander Davis is here tonight because I can hopefully get some questions answered. I made a complaint October the 8th, I think it was, 2012. And I made it official October the 22nd, 2012. And I did receive a letter from Commander Davis, February the 27th. At that time, the disposition was sustained, but I also wanted to know some information. I called you, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if I can address the commander or
Well,
not.
just go ahead and say what.
But I called you back and asked you if there was anything that I should get as the complainant, stating what the officer said. Was it going to be on his record? How long, et cetera, et cetera. I know several years ago, I put in a complaint against 2 detectives who entered my garage and my house without a warrant, and those also was sustained. And also, they gave me a definition of what was asked of them, a summary, and they also said, at that time there was Chief Kaminsky, and he also said that that would be on their record forever. I need to know, the citizens of Evanston need to know, what takes place after a complaint passes through the system here. We also need to know if this is really on their records. If I did something wrong, it would be on my record, I guarantee you. So I need to know what is happening there, what is the policy, what is the regulations there. And I'm hoping that the complaints is because things are changing. I do know, in fairness, that I see a few officers smiling at me and saying, hello. That's a beginning. That's good. Not enough, but it's a beginning. Also, I think we need to know how, what is this procedure? How does it go in effect? What is happening? How this officer is evaluated? How does it stay on their records, et.cetera.? And this is all I have to say for at this time for the police department.
Right, I know. I'm going to
Okay.
call everything else
All
back.
right, thank you.
Alderman Burris.
Yes, I'm sorry I didn't say this before. Can I just, I actually want to address you. Could you send a thank you to all the police officers for everything that they do? And we actually had this discussion a couple weeks ago. I find them to be actually extremely friendly and outgoing and work really well with the people in my ward, and I've only heard positives, so please pass that along as well. I know it seems that we hear a lot of negatives and we hear complaints. We do get some of the compliments as well, but I just want to make sure to pass that along through you. Thanks.
Alderman Tindem, I want you to stay.
Okay.
Alderman Tindem?
No, I would say the same thing. In my ward, there's a lot of interaction with the police officers, and residents of the 6th Ward speak very highly. And we have a beat cop who is significantly involved and very popular in the ward, does a very good job of rounding up the neighborhood watch groups and things like that. So I don't know of any real negative comments, at least recently, in my ward. Thank them for me as well.
We appreciate it.
Alderman Breathwaite.
Well, I guess there's a good thing that we have a Human Services Committee where we receive the reports every month. One of our residents just asked briefly, and what I would summarize her comments were just talking a little bit about the interdepartmental, just the disciplinary actions and how that affects officers. If you can just, maybe just a brief little summary of how it works, how they're impacted, and maybe what happens if they rack up too many reports. Thank you.
Not a problem. I will take this opportunity, though, since it was brought up by the alderman, that the Human Service Committee receives these packages every month, and we address the police complaints here openly, and we never address the police compliments. So, for the record, we got 10 complimentary exemplary service records in my packet here. Now, how, Ms. Where did she go?
She's here. She's here.
Okay, Mr. Cree, to answer your question as to what happens. First, I've invited this body numerous times to come to the Citizens Police Academy, where I do a full-blown hour-and-a-half spiel on how we handle complaints and the whole process. So once again, I'm inviting you to come to the Citizens Police Academy to learn that whole process. But yes, her question was, are these records kept? These records are kept indefinitely. Even when you retire, we still have it. I have something on my desk right now where they're asking for the disciplinary actions of someone who left in 2004, and I have them, and I will prepare them and give them to the bodies that's requesting. So yes, we do keep the records. When we send the letters out, we tell you the disposition. However, we do not tell you the discipline. And that's something that's going to continue. We're not going to say, oh, well, this officer got this for that. We'll simply say the disposition is sustained and the officer was disciplined. In the case that she's referring to, we're not going to spend a lot of time here going way back to when Comiskey was here, but the case that's on the docket today, she is referring to a case that's on the docket today. In reference to that case, it was sustained, the officers were disciplined, and that disciplinary will stay in their file indefinitely.
Alderman Burris.
Yeah, thanks. I actually have been through the Citizens Police Academy, as you know. Do you know when the next one is coming up? I think that's a really
September.
great.
And it should be on our website.
Wonderful thing for everyone to go through. I think particularly people that are in places that we can make policy changes, to really know how your department works is extremely important. So thank you for bringing that up.
That is a wonderful suggestion for those who will take us up on that offer. However, my question, I guess, would be, so if a citizen makes a complaint, and you're going to let them know that it has been taken care of, but they will never know what the outcome is that only that it's been exonerated or sustained or whatever? That's the only thing they get. Now, my next question, is that because of some rules that we have, or is that by...
To get an officer's disciplinary record would actually, you would probably need to put a FOIA request in. And even that has 3 pages of stipulations attached to it. But you can't just call the police department and say, I had a bad experience with Officer Joe, let me tell you, tell me what he's done.
No, and I understand that, and that's really not the gist of my question. I'm saying, if you personally, if I have a complaint, and I want to know what happened to my complaint, then the only thing I'm going to get is the sort of the final thing in terms of it is exonerated or sustained. I will never know what the action was in terms of, I'm reading because, I know what it is only because I can read the report. I don't know what it is, because just so the audience would know, we have no names on these, so it would be hard to know who's what.
Oh, no, when the person makes the complaint, they're given, they know who the officer is they're complaining on.
Right.
They know exactly what happened. This is what the officer said. This is what you said. This is what the witnesses say. This is what the tapes show.
Right.
So we don't keep them in the dark and just say, we'll handle it and we'll get back to you.
No, I understand that part, but I'm saying, when you sent the letter,
When I sent the letter,
she said that it was sustained, and that was all she knew. And she wanted to know, what really happened. I mean, what did that mean? So we don't give that, and I'm trying to figure out the reason why we don't give it. Does it have something to do with union contracts, or does it have something to do with state statute? I'm just trying to understand the reason why, so that we can let citizens know what it is that keeps us from giving that information.
the questions that she would have already been answered throughout the course of the investigation. The letter that she received is just a form letter that basically says this is the disposition. But all the questions that she would probably have, who is the officer, what has the officer done in the past, those type of questions would have been available to her during the course of the investigation. We would not share with her specifics, what type of complaints he's had, what's he been disciplined for, specific things she would not be privy to. But any questions as to who is this officer, how long has he been with the police department, those questions would have come out in the investigation if she had asked. That is not held from her. But the letter that she receives, she's right. It's a simple form letter with nothing on it but the disposition.
Right. Okay. Alderman Brathwaite and then Alderman Fisk. I see Mrs. Decree.
Thank you, Alderman Holmes. One of the things that I would put, and I was trying to flip through to find something current to show Ms. Decree. Every once in a while, when you see a finding, it will note on there, for example, on page 280-something, the chief of police concurred with the complaint, should be sustained. And then you'll see either oral reprimand or counsel. So there's a little bit of information, but not to the level that she's...
I just want to make sure that's not public information. Again, that's what I'm asking Commander Davis right now.
Yeah, the letter that you get, the information that you have, it's not what she receives.
Oh, right. Okay. Got it. That's what I was trying to get to.
Okay.
So the information that we have here, even though it doesn't have a name on it, is much more information than the citizen would get. You got it?
Got it.
Okay.
And if there's some questions that Mrs. Decree has for me, she's familiar with me. She can come to my office, can call me tomorrow and ask me exactly what it is that she needs to know. And if that information is available to her, I'll share it with her.
All right. Okay. Alderman Fisk? And
thank you. And I was on the Police Services Advisory Board under Chief Kaminsky, and as such, I think every month, or I can't remember how frequently it was, but the minutes of the meetings were released. I've asked for this in the past. I don't know who's on CPAC or EPAC, and it would be really helpful for us to know who's on there, how often they meet, the disposition of the cases, attached to the information that you provide to this committee.
Okay, I can get that for you. CPAC is Citizens, and EPAC is Evanston, which basically is the same. But there are 3 people on one board, and I think there's 6 on the other. Okay. And I can get their names.
But it would just be really helpful to have that in terms of transparency.
Okay, yeah, that's not a problem. They meet once a month in the police station, and they're 2 separate groups.
Okay, but again, just...
I'll get the names for you. That's not a problem.
Okay, Mrs. Decree, I will take, and then we're going to have to move. We have one more question.
I just need to say this. I'm very disorganized here. Like I express it to the whole Evanston tonight. But the letter that I received years ago from Chief Kaminsky, who was the chief at that time, it was very explicit. It was very elaborate to what those 2 officers did. And when I find it, I will bring it back here. I'll leave it alone for now.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Commander Davis. Unless somebody have any other questions. Okay? All right. I know it seems like I'm a little disjointed, but I'm really not. I'm trying to push the things I think it's going to be fast to get through because we have 2 big items coming up. We have one speaker who wanted to speak on a non-agenda item. and that is Sabrina Edmond, I believe it is. And we're going to take you right now, so then we can move on to our other two items.
Great, thank you. I just want to say really quickly, I know that it's not on the agenda tonight, but I know decisions will be coming down the line on Harley Clark, and I just wanted to say that we would really like to see the property remain public and nonprofit in accordance with the 2008 Lakefront Master Plan. And I personally would also like to see that any consideration towards using it as a rental venue be done with the idea in mind of funding the property and the facilities management. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you give her name and address? Yeah, please give your name and address? So for the
Sabrina
records.
Edmond, 2510 Prairie Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Deputy City Manager, I think I covered everything except those two items, right?
You have covered
Everything except H.
comment.
I'm going to do
Covered
those.
Police complaints. You
Right.
covered fairness,
Okay, we have now, we have two items that
you still have the assessors.
I know, that's going to come down here. We had two items that we have several speakers, and we wanted to get those, put those at the end of the agenda so that we could get everybody else out. I'm sorry, but just sometimes it just works better that way. I'm going to go first to the intergovernmental agreements between the City of Evanston and the Evanston Township High School for the operations of a safe school zone. I'm going to take that first, and I'm going to take citizens' comments first. We have about four speakers, I believe. George Mitchell from the NAACP. We have Dr. Witherspoon from Evanston Township High School. We have Gretchen Livingston from Evanston Township High School. Sam Patino. We have Madeline Decree. And is this Dr. Murphy? I didn't even see you. Dr. Murphy from District 65 from the Safe School Zone. And Betty Sue Esther, Safe School Zones, I believe. Right, that's what I thought it was. Okay, and I'm not, Ms. Switchard and Ms. Hilton, are they also for Safe School Zone? Not. But if you'll come up sort of in that order, so Mr. Mitchell, Dr. Witherspoon, Ms. Livingston, Mr. Patino, Ms. Decree, Dr. Murphy, and Ms. Esther. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm George Mitchell, president of the Evanston NAACP, 1229 Emerson Street. I'm here this evening to primarily ask some questions and ask for clarity on some issues concerning the Safe School Zone. I've reviewed the Illinois statute concerning the Safe School Zone, and as I read it, it applies to employees and students only. And I'm just concerned about how we go about enforcing something like this, because there's no real definition of lawful business, and there's a phrase in there that always creates doubts in my mind about how enforcement of such a piece of legislation is handled, and that's reasonable suspicion. And the question becomes reasonable suspicion to whom and of what. I have some concerns that we don't really need this particular ordinance. I'm sorry, we don't really particularly need this agreement. But if it is to be, I have full confidence in our school administrators. But the only issue is what happens when someone walks through the driveway or walks on the south side of Church Street's sidewalk, and that person may have been suspended from school. The Illinois statute exempts First Amendment rights from consideration in this ordinance. So the question to me is, why do we need it? And how do you define lawful business? And what does reasonable suspicion mean? If those answers could be made, then I'd be happy to. I think we all really want safe schools, and we want some way of defining what is safe and what it really means to the entire community. I think we all want that. but we don't want to open the door to any opportunities for overzealous people to be abusive.
Thank you. Dr. Witherspoon, you're next.
Thank you. Good evening, committee members, and thanks for taking up this issue. We appreciate it. And you have received it. It has been approved by our school board. But I'm really here this evening to ask for your help. We really need your help. The safety of our students at ETHS, in my estimation, for me personally, is becoming a bigger concern all the time. And as the superintendent of the district and as a person who literally lives in that school with those children every single day, I can't emphasize to you enough how much we need your help to make sure that we do whatever we can to keep all 3,000 of them safe on a daily basis. This particular agreement that we're asking you to approve, I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the majority of the faculty. We didn't poll everybody. I just know the many, many people who've spoken to me. Our principal, Marcus Campbell, who regrets that he couldn't be here because he is so concerned about this, but he's actually out of state attending a meeting. Vernon Clark, our associate principal, who has worked with these issues now at our high school and in our community for many years. If you have questions later of Mr. Clark, I know he would be glad to answer them too. But the reason we're asking you to approve this is because it allows us to do what a school does every day, and just expand our ability to do that just a little wider, just across the street, so that when we have 3,000 students exit that school every day, on those occasions that we see something really brewing that could be very, very dangerous. And I would tell you that when we see that, we need this help not for our own students. We know those kids. We deal with those kids. I can walk across the street and say something. I know most of their names. I can say something to them. This is people we don't know. This is people that when you learn who they were are usually coming up here from Chicago or some surrounding areas. But these are people that when we see trouble brewing, we just need a tool to do what we do anyway, to be able to say that to them as well, just as I would go across the street and say it to one of our own kids. You know what? This isn't a good situation. You need to move on. We really need to just disperse this. And that's the tool we're asking for. And so I hope that you'll take it under consideration and help us out. Thank you. I think Sam was going to go after me and then Ms.
Okay,
Livingston.
that's fine.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to echo what Dr. Witherspoon said and just relate that over the last couple years, we've had multiple incidents where suspects who we believe are gang involved in Chicago have been across the street from Evanston High School, prepared to do battle with Evanston kids. And as he said, we're just looking for another tool in the toolbox to deal with those situations when they present themselves. Our intention with this is not to impede free access to the sidewalks on either side of the street. This is going to be used in a very limited context when we know there are things going on. And we've had a number of those incidents. So, I'm happy to discuss or answer any questions you might have when we continue this conversation. And I, too, would urge you that we're just looking to protect not only students, but people in the area of the high school when this stuff breaks out. So thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Gretchen Livingston, the president of the District 202 School Board. Thanks very much for having us here tonight on this really important issue. I really want to thank you because I think this is a great opportunity for the city and the school to come together and collaborate on what has to be one of the most important issues in our community, and that's the safety of our young people. This is a great opportunity to extend our reach and to address this pressing issue of violence in our communities. There's one place in Evanston where all our students come together, and that's ETHS. So even though the city council is broken up by ward, I think the issue here really is a citywide issue, and we need to treat it that way because of this importance of safety to our students. I wanted to share with you what I previously shared with all of you in an email, and that is our school board has already adopted unanimously a resolution supporting the Safe School Zone ordinance. It was, I would have to say, one of the most singular, non-controversial items before our school board. No one on our board received a single email, phone call. Not a single person appeared in public comment to express any displeasure. And the ordinance passed after being on our agenda for 2 different board meetings, as I said, unanimously. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see the same result before the City Council, and I appreciate your support. And if there are more questions, of course, we've got a wide array of people from ETHS here to answer your questions. Thanks.
Ms. Decree, I think you are next.
Hi, again, my name is Madeline Ducree, same address. I do not want this agreement, this ordinance to pass. This is my own opinion. Evanston is running scared. Okay? Evanston is running scared. America is running scared. We are giving up all of our rights when we do not need to do this. People need to do their jobs. Who's in charge of those jobs? The school have a system to protect our children, protect them. The police have an issue with certain things going on. Do your job. You have laws already on the books, so many hundreds of feet. If you bring something in close to the school, you are arrested. Why is it that we think we can put a few laws on the books and make everything disappear? Our children are in jail for zippy. Our children are mixed up because of this running around, making laws, certain things. And if they are wrong, don't get me wrong, do what you have to do. But don't think you can put laws on the book and change the way we operate in this world. We have to reach out to people, to children. I don't know why. I truly don't know why we have to give up all of our rights, many of our rights. I think not too long ago, and I'm going to wrap it up, there was something on the books about the plane flying around in Evanston. What did people do? What did this council do? You wiped it out. Oh my God, that would have taken care of everything that you're talking about. Would it not? I think so. So if you don't want that thing flying around here, don't tell me that I have to be subjected because I walk down a sidewalk that's supposed to be public and I pay my taxes. That's not right. That is not right. Thank you.
Dr. Murphy, and yours is on District 65 in the intergovernmental agreement with the city for your junior highs, I believe. Middle schools, okay. See, I'm old school junior highs where I came from.
I went to a junior high too. So. Well, thank you very much. I'm here with Claudia Garrison, who's one of our new school board members. And in a portion of the letter from our school board president to Mayor Tisdale, she states that District 65 is interested in entering into a similar agreement with the city as 202 to establish safe school zones at the school district's middle schools located in Evanston. And we view this as an opportunity to collaborate with the city to create a safer educational environment for our community's children.
and as such, we do not expect the operation of the safe school zones to result in increased disciplinary or legal consequences for our students. And I kind of resonated with what Mr. Mitchell said, but this does give us one more tool. And there are those times when it is important for us to have be able to exercise some control and to create a buffer around the school that moves the point of conflict back so that children have an opportunity to get out of the school on the buses if they need to get on a bus, or to be picked up by their parents, or to at least enable them to have a safe start on their way home. There have been instances, just few and far between, but in some ways this represents for us an ounce of prevention rather than a cure. And I think that ultimately the enforcement or the implementation of the safe school zones is going to be dependent upon the discretion that's used and the good judgments of the people that are involved with it. I can tell you that we have a healthy respect and appreciation for our police officers and what they do in our schools. So we are not where 202 is just yet. Our board has not approved our intergovernmental agreement. That will probably be going to our board, I would imagine, in August or the 1st of September at the latest. But I do believe that it will be approved and that we will be back here in front of you asking you for consideration of the city to move forward with us on this. So thank you very much for this opportunity to come speak to you.
Thank you. Ms. Esther?
Good evening. My name is Betty Esther. I stay at 2031 Church Street. When my alderman told me about this here ordinance that is before and what the school districts was asking, it made me stop and pause. What is a safe school zone? For walking, they show Chicago, the kids are walking and stuff. And I'm thinking, we haven't had kids being shot and people running around. Yeah, but we do have shooting here. And most of the shooting has happened at night, late at night, when most children should be at home and not on curfew, or otherwise they violating their curfew. There was an incident last year and this year before school let out. One was a stabbing, one was a shooting, nobody got hurt. The other corner, there was an accident. All of this happened one day in the morning. Two of them was a bad thing. The other was an incident that the person that was driving the car probably didn't plan on running into somebody, but it happened. And then when I'm trying to figure out, okay, I got to do a lot of research to find out what is the law and what does it cover and what all does it mean for a safe school zone. Before, I listened to the District 202 meetings on the 24th, and they talked about the safe school zone and where the safe school zone line was up to the property line. That green line that I hope stay there, the grass, that's another issue. But then I thought, and then they said, well, we want to take it to the sidewalk. Okay, that's the sidewalk where the school is. No, we want to bring it across to the sidewalk and make, as soon as you step off my driveway, out of my door, come down my step, walk down that little walk, and step onto the sidewalk, I'm in a safe school zone. That I have a problem with, because then you start infringing on my rights. I've sit there in my home and watch kids come, stand there, and be waiting for the 208 to go home. Come and stand on my grass, stand on the walk, a bunch of them, waiting for their parents to come down church to pick them up. Now do I have to, now I'm looking at, well, now these kids going to be standing here, and they got to be worried about police coming up. You need to move on what you're doing and stuff. Is this what they got to look forward to? So that is infringing on their rights, and say you got to wait over there on the school lot. You can't come across here. Parents, you got to go up inside. Otherwise, your children is going to be harassed. They will be subject to the Fritz and pat and Fritz, the thing that the police is doing now, patting down people and frisking them for probable cause. What that means, that's anybody's guess. I have been on the corner of Church and Dodge where their kids have been fighting over there on the corner, next to the school, over by the barber shop. And I have observed the policemen coming and breaking it up, people in the community, especially from the barber shop, talking to the kids and breaking them up. Every now and then would see the school safety officer might come through there. Now, the police are there. When they are on that corner, now they come and they park their vehicle. The kids come, they come in droves, they walk down, they disperse, go down Church or down Dodge or whichever way they go home without any incident. So if they are doing that, then why in the hell do we need a safety zone to cross the street that is going to impact two business? Not two, all the business right around that corner. There are barber shops. There are people that congregate there on that, right in front of the barber shop. It's a gathering place for them. Are we not concerned with them? Don't they have a right for their customers to keep enjoying the privilege that they had? They pay enough taxes for that street to be done. We saying we want to keep them there. Do we want them to leave? The policeman is on the corner of Lake and Dodge. They are patrolling that. They are there, kids walk on, and you really don't have that many fights. And how can you tell? And if you can tell me how you can tell when a group of kids come in there and they're coming from, people coming, walking down the street, that they are walking from Chicago, over being an Evanston resident, if you can tell that, then if you can come and show me that and show me a good reason why and explain and tell me how you're going to tell me, I'll be the first one to say go ahead and do it. But right now, I don't think you can do that. This ordinance should not be passed. It has came through the school board. Now, people don't come to the school board. They stay late, and they say, well, I got to get up in the morning to go to work. I get up early. As your alderman, as the mayor would have told you, she's not here, but I used to go to the 202 school board, summer 65, and be there at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning and voice my opinion and tell them what I felt and everything. As I come here and talk. And I had a lady to tell me the other day, said, well, Betty, do you think you having any impact? Are the people listening to you when you get up there and talk? Because she said they don't look like they are. And I said, well, I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But these are things that need to be debated in the wider community, where the people in the community that this is affecting might not be as sophisticated in pulling people together as they are up on the north side. They still deserve the right and the respect from their alderman when she says, and the other alderman in the second ward that is close to, that is something that her constituents doesn't want. Everybody cannot come here to speak to you. Everybody feel, well, it's a waste of time. They have looked as to what you have done to the Fifth Ward and over there and marginalizing it. And they said, no, enough is enough. This here one is enough. We do not need to move that line across the street. It needs to stay where that grass ends. And Mrs. Charlotte Hilton, when she comes, she will have a story to tell. And I know her story because she wound up in the courthouse on an incident that happened on the corner of Church and Dodge. And that incident should not have happened if the school district had did their job. The police really didn't do their job. The kids that came, which was from Chicago, beat up on her grandson. The mother came to stop them. The police arrested her for mob action, and they had to go to court. The kids that came from Chicago, they went back to Chicago. So where is the fairness? So she can hear, she will bring you, if you need the court records, we will get those for you. But first, we do not need to do this. It is not needed. The police, when they are there on the corner, they are doing their job without that safety zone being in place now. And I'm sure they can keep doing it if they come and just park there. So why are we adding another layer of a piece of paper to say, oh, we proved the safety zone? What is that getting us? Nothing.
Ms. Esther, could I ask you to wrap it up?
I'm through.
Thank you. Miss Holland, are you Holland Switch?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eva Holland Switchett, and I work for the H.E. Lane Center for Positive Change. And it's been 2 years now since I've been working with the reentry program. I don't know whether or not each and every one over there on the podium is well aware of the H.E. Lane Center, but I hope you are. My main concern lately with different encounterment with the township is two things. We would like to know, one, the time frame when it's applicable for the staff to reach out to the agencies in Evanston as far as their responsibility in helping as far as the guidelines. Number two, sometimes it become a little suspicious because we would process some of the client's paper for assistance, and it would just linger, and maybe about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we would get another call from the office, and it would says, I'm sorry, the client will have to resubmit papers for whatever it may be. And thirdly, is that how long, if there's anybody in here can answer, does it take for the process to get assistance of any sort, including medical and also housing assistance? And the people that needs to be where they are should be a little bit more sincere, concerned, and responsible so that we can appreciate the type of work that they are supposed to do. So tonight, I came just to find out from someone if there is some guidelines, additional guidelines, that we can get either at the office so we can know how the accountability of the paperwork with staff is applied for the community.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I thought Ms. Switchard was Safe Schools. I'm sorry. You wanted the township.
I can go to Safe Schools.
No. Well, I thought I was looking at this because we were on Safe Schools. If you wanted to speak to that, but that's okay.
Okay.
You've already spoke to the township, so we'll have that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak on Safe Schools? Okay, Ms. Giles.
My name is Priscilla Giles, and I live at 1829 Ashland. The Safe School should be for the whole city. I mean, because I picked up my grandson from high school on the last week of school, and there was a fight that broke out. A child, I believe her nose was broken. It was a very violent fight that frightened me. That was inside the boundaries of the school. I know of another instance where a child was followed all the way home. They live across Simpson Street. So how can we say that we have a safe school zone that is any place? The school should be safe inside. The community should be safe also. So I don't think we need a law to have a safe school zone. I do agree that if we have people who come onto the grounds or with weapons or drugs, that should be addressed as that. But I can't see how you can find out who the people are who are going to cause problems. In Wilmette, I believe it was Wilmette or Kenilworth, when the woman came in and shot those children, how would anyone know what her purpose was when she came in? And I think it's the same thing with the Safe School Zone. We don't need a law, we need law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That is the last speaker. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Could you give your name and address, Mr. Clark, please?
Vernon Clark, Associate Principal, Evanston Township High School, 1600 Dodge. I sat there and I wasn't going to say anything. I thought that it was well eloquently said by other school officials. But I have to. I've been at Evanston Township High School now 26 years. And the last 10 of those years has been in a position of dean and now associate principal. And I am outside after school almost every day, as is the superintendent every day, as is Mr. Patinio every day. And I have to tell you, we're out there holding on to every breath, hoping that nothing happens outside of that school after school. And it troubles me that we have to do that. But we have to do it because it becomes the congregation for everybody after school, even over on the log. It doesn't matter what color they are. But we deal with the different groups and aggregations and all of that is hanging around the school, at the corner church in Dodge, on the log, right across the street from the school, down at Lake and Dodge, down at Dempster and Dodge. We're dealing with all of these different things every day after school. I heard someone say, we don't need this ordinance because the police are out there sitting on the corners. Yes, they are. There are a lot of detectives out there sitting on the corners. But I tell you, we need that increased presence because we're not able to move people along. It isn't about trying to profile. It isn't about trying to get people in trouble. It is about safeguarding the 3,000 plus kids who come to Evanston Township every single day. And everybody expects us to protect their kids to and from. And I've been doing this for 26 years. And I cannot sit there and not say something. It is a problem. It is a serious problem. And the only thing that we're asking, and I am for the ordinance. I go on record. I think most of you in here know who I am. I go on record. I'm for the ordinance because it's just one more thing that helps us to keep 3,000 plus students safe. It doesn't matter whether the people standing across the street come from Chicago, or whether they come from Des Plaines, or whether they come from Wilmette, or whether they come from Winnetka. We don't care. We don't want the kids and people congregating because it just creates that much more tension out there for us after school. And we need to be able to move them on. That's all we're saying. And I promise you, as the associate principal, who is in charge of discipline, that we will not use this as a weapon or anything to get students in trouble in terms with the law. It's just about moving people along. As for the adults who stand in front of Church Street Barbershop, as for the adults who stand in front of Ebony Barbershop and all of those businesses over there, we're not talking about those people. but we have a good read on the trouble that we're going to deal with after school. We get that read from kids who will come and tell us, hey, you need to be alerted for this and this situation after school. We've been doing this so long till we can almost feel tension. Please, please, trust us. Trust us. We wouldn't be here if we didn't need it. We tried to do this about 8 to 10 years ago when Marilyn Madden was the assistant superintendent principal. It was decided then that we didn't need it. And I'm telling you, and I was a part of that committee, and I'm telling you here tonight that we need it. And if we're going to keep all 3,000 plus students safe to and from, we need the support of this Human Rights Commission. I implore you, I beg you to support this. Thank you.
All right. Any more speakers? Mr. Mitchell, you had one more thing to say because we want to move along because we got another whole agenda item.
I'll be very brief. And I don't mean any disrespect to anyone, but as I read the Illinois statute, the school safety zone refers to students who have been expelled or otherwise disciplined from school, not to students who are walking or congregating. So the issue is not because students are standing around there or maybe in some kind of difficulty or thinking about it, but it refers specifically to students who have been suspended or expelled. Now, that's the way I read it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead. You want to make another comment?
You know, it's just a point of clarification because I want to respond to that. I'm a lawyer, but I'm not practicing as one. I'm just a lowly school board member these days. But I do have some familiarity with reading statutes. And I just wanted to clarify the language of this particular statute because I took the time and have studied it closely in recent weeks. There's actually 2 different provisions in this statute that relate to presence on the school grounds. So the statute applies to a person will be found to have committed a criminal trespass, subject, by the way, to a misdemeanor charge. If they enter a safe school zone knowingly, and then you have to refer to the second paragraph to get to the point where if someone enters or remains in a safe school zone, whenever there is reasonable suspicion to believe such person will disrupt the orderly operation or the safety or peaceful conduct of the school or school activities. That language does not relate to being a student. It's specifically designed for the kind of circumstance that Mr. Clark was addressing during his remarks, people from outside the school zone. So this statute is not geared only towards disciplined or expelled students or current students. It also includes people who are present on the school grounds without cause to be there when there's reasonable suspicion that they're there to disrupt or cause harm. So I just wanted to clarify that, and you can read it for yourself in the statute. I have a copy if anybody would like to take a closer look.
Thank you. All right. I don't see any lights, any comments. Anyone want to make? Alderman Fisk and then Alderman Burrs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I do trust the officials at ETHS to keep our kids safe. I trust that there are parents in absentia and they know their students. I think Dr. Witherspoon said it very well, that he knows who each one of those 3,000 kids are, and that there are enough children who are communicating their concerns every day that clearly they need to feel safe when they're leaving the school. And they need to feel like there's not going to be a situation that's going to get out of hand, that there are adults that they can turn to, that those adults are going to have the tools that they need in order to maintain security and tranquility in the area surrounding the school. So I'm in support of this. I've heard what everyone said, and but I am in support of this because I think the overriding issue here is keeping our kids safe. And again, trusting all of you that you know your kids, you know that there are kids as well as your kids, and that you're looking out for their best interests, getting them home.
Alderman Burris, and then Alderman Brathwaite, and then Alderman Tenham, and then I'll take a turn.
Thank you. I am in support of this, but I disagree that it's the school's complete responsibility or the police officers' complete responsibility to keep us safe. We hear this over and over again. We blame government, we blame the schools, we blame the police. And this is something that Dr. Witherspoon and I chatted about a couple weeks ago. I don't know that we've heard the word parent or guardian mentioned very often tonight. And my frustration that we don't talk more about holding those people responsible for the actions of their children gives me concern. I think that we should look more at the schools of educating parents and holding them responsible, holding them publicly responsible when their kids do outrageous criminal acts. What we do now is we hide it. From the police to city government to the school district, we hide behind the parents yelling, being upset, not wanting, out protecting their children versus holding them accountable. We need to do that as a community if we are going to be safe. The police are not going to be on every corner, and the school district has how many security guards? They're not going to be at every locker and every classroom and every hallway. So if we don't hold our parents responsible, the parents, the guardians responsible, we are not going to have a safe community. District 65. I again agree that we should have this, we're deploying, this is more money out of our pocket. The city of Evanston, you know, if you look at the taxes, we're less than 20%. The school districts are a much larger bill. Every year we ask for more help for crossing guards, and we are rejected. Every single year we're told it's not our responsibility. But you're asking us for money to help your kids be safe, our kids to be safe. If we're going to do this together, then we should do everything together. It's not always a one-way street.
Alderman Brathwaite.
Thank you, Alderman Holmes. I guess I wanted to share a couple of things, and thank you for the comments on both sides. As many of you know here, there are actually 4 of us on City Council that have students at ETHS. And so I think it's safe to say that as a council, we're very invested in everything that happens both inside the walls of the high school as well as outside. This past year, we have been very aggressive, and I think we've worked cooperatively to address issues of lighting, and there's a plan for that. We've also looked at, or I've been a part of conversations to place emergency phones around certain areas of the high school. In addition to that, we're looking at placing security lightings. I'm aware of the capital improvements that will help with the lighting. In addition to that, we've been very aggressive over the past 2 years to restructure our city staff to make sure that we're delivering the necessary services to those that I think you're looking to have an impact on. What I hope that you hear, and I don't want to take a long time saying this because they did it, is you're looking to move a policy that has an impact on certain residents, particularly in the 2nd and border of the 5th Ward, and you haven't done the outreach. And so it's difficult, and I'm in support of giving you whatever tool you think will make your students feel safe. I want to be clear about that. But it's irresponsible to shove it down the residents, particularly on the west end of town, without even a conversation with them. Back on June 24th, I received a phone call from one of your board members, and we had the dialogue. And I said honestly, and I say it now, that I wasn't a part of those preliminary conversations. I will apologize now. I don't know where I missed the communication, but I wasn't a part of those conversations. And I do try my best to pay attention to the daily e-blasts. I asked some of the staff, have you had a conversation with any of the parents? Have you had a conversation with the E-Band, the Black Parent Group? And unfortunately, the response was no. And so I think I would feel a little bit different if there were members, families who participated in this dialogue to make them feel like they're part of the process. But what I hope you hear, and I hope that I'm articulating this in the right tone, that if we try to combine and place this on those particular families that neighbor the high school without even giving them the courtesy of a conversation, it's irresponsible. And I know that Alderman Holmes will probably talk a little bit about the search and frisk, and that was another tool. But guess what? We had the conversations with our residents. And having that conversation, they actually are in support of it. Earlier, just moments ago, you heard from Commander Davis that even with stop and frisk, and that's been in place this summer, we've had a downward trend of police complaints, which I would think the opposite. It's very interesting data. So I'm in support of giving you a tool. I think that if properly explained, if you allow the residents and the people in the community to ask the questions, take the time to explain the statutes, I think you'll have the tool that you're looking for. And until those conversations take place, it's difficult for me to be in support and have to hear comments like this from just a few residents who happen to probably see it on a city agenda. And so I hope that, and I don't know what the outcome is going to be of this committee, but I hope that you hear that. I hope that you hear that we're all in support of taking care of the kids. That's not the debate here. We are all invested in the kids. But please hear from the residents that border that town. They have been put through a lot. And we feel the violence just like you do. I only live a block and a half away from the high school. But before we can move forward with this, there needs to be a more careful conversation. Thank you.
Alderman Tindem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do serve on the City School Liaison Committee with a number of school board officials, superintendents, and also Alderman Grover. We did pass, and I do support still, that we passed this out of that committee to be heard for Human Services unanimously. It has been a while since we've done that. I don't know where the conversations were to go or had gone, but I do think that it's, we're having the conversation now, so I think that's very important. But the reason I support it, I sort of get the whole clear vision, the field. Dr. Witherspoon and Mr. Clark both spoke about being on the spot, and when all this activity is going on, to have a clearer, broader vision of exactly what's happening and what they should be concerned about. So I do understand that, and I think that's very important, and I believe this ordinance would do that. As far as the high school, the middle schools, I would also support, if found warranted, if this could improve safety around our middle schools, I would support that too. I don't think this should be limited to one school or one neighborhood. I think if the District 65 board finds that this is a suitable thing and it could benefit all of our school kids at that age as well, so be it. I would support that. I do want to make sure that Mr. Mitchell's questions were answered. He had some very good questions for the committee, and I don't know if we actually tackled each one, but I would love to know, visit those questions again to give you an answer. That's what I have to say.
I guess I don't have to say that I support the schools. Dr. Witherspoon, I think you know I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders, and I'm very confident. I've known Mr. Clark forever, before he even went to Evanston Township High School. So it has nothing to do with any of that. I cannot support this ordinance. I said that to Ms. Livingston when she first called me about it, And we had talked about this in a city school, not the committee, but a group of us who've met here with the mayor and some of our city officials and the District 202 staff members. I really feel very strongly about it. I want to say, I do want to mention stop and frisk because it is a tool that we have given to our police department to use. And I think that since, I think Ms. Esther said it best, we have laws that could deal with this on the books already. So I think that we have to implement and use some of those. I supported, and Ms. Livingston asked me this question. She said, well, you supported stop and frisk, but I did a lot of work in my community before I could do that. My community wanted. We had moved to a level where we had to do that, and I can certainly support that. I've not been able to do that with this ordinance. I don't think it's my responsibility to do that with this ordinance. I think it is the school's responsibility to do that with this ordinance. I think Alderman Brathwaite has already said in terms of looking at, it borders the 5th Ward on the north side of Church, and really, that's it for the 5th Ward. The rest of it is all in the 2nd Ward. But mainly, it borders the people who look like me. And I think that folk are concerned. And so I think I have to speak in terms of that. I'm not going to support it because I feel that, and we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I said to Dr. Weatherspoon and Mr. Patino and other people that were there, I really do feel very strongly that a lot of the kids, and I hear you talk about the kids from Chicago and Des Plaines and Niles and wherever else they might be from, but a lot of those kids that stand across the street at Davis and Dodge, and I think that's probably your biggest problem, are kids who come back early from the schools that we send them out of this community to. So, they're our kids. They really are. They may not be familiar to you, but they're familiar to a lot of the rest of us because they go to alternative schools, and we know that. And I think that we have a responsibility to do something about that before we move to another. And I don't just see this as just another tool in the toolbox. I'm not against giving you tools, but let's understand what the tool is going to do before we create the tool. It's as simple as that for me. So I can't support it. We can certainly come back and discuss it at another time, or I'm not sure how the committee is going to feel about taking this on to the council. That's up to the council. There's 9 of us. So I know I'm only one vote, but I know where I stand morally. I just cannot support it. So any other comments? If not...
Mr. Mitchell, did you want to reiterate your questions? I mean, I would like to make sure your questions were answered, or at least you have some knowledge of what we're doing.
But I'm listening to Alderman Burris. And
can you identify yourself?
I'm sorry. My name is Pat Gregory. I live in the 5th Ward. And listening to Alderman Burris, who said that she would like the parents to be held responsible. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, but the parents can't be held responsible if they don't know what they're being held responsible for. And I think that because this will make even more of a greater impact than you think on the 5th Ward, that we should have a community discussion before you all move forward. Thank you.
Thank you for wanting me to get back up here and say something to clarify what my questions were. As I read the intergovernmental agreement, it references the state statute, Illinois combined, whatever it is, some dot, and all those things. But that, if I understand English correctly, has 2 sections. That's correct. It deals with students and employees who've been disciplined. That's what it deals with. I have no problem with some kind of a school safety zone at all. It's just that how is it going to be administered? Who is going to administer it? And yes, I frequent the barbershops right in that area too. And so I don't want to be out there and have some me around there. There are a lot of young people that stand near the barber shops and converse and so forth. And that doesn't mean they're doing anything illegal or immoral, but that happens. I just wanted to understand what lawful business meant. That's the language in the state statute. Lawful business and reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion, probable cause. That's really what that is. Probable cause about what? Now, you can look at, if you look at the layout of the high school, that driveway that goes all the way through to Lake Street from Church Street, I realize that's on school property, but people walk on that and people cut through there all the time. And even though it's school property, it's still public property. And the other issue is that in the ending of the statute, it exempts the Illinois Education Labor Relations Act, and it also exempts the First Amendment issues. So what are we really doing, and how are we going about doing this? And I think really there really should be some discussion with the community about this, and I don't think you would have that much opposition to it as long as there's some reasonableness about it and some actual honest conversation about it. I support our administrators in our schools. I admire them, to be perfectly honest, and I want to see them succeed. But I also know that whenever you have this kind of blanket authority going through, the potential for abuse is there. It's always been there, and I would love to say I vouch for the conduct of our administrators and our police, but not all of them. So we have to be careful about how we do these things. Thank you.
All right, Alderman Fist and then Alderman Breathwaite. I think that's the order.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Looking at the calendar, I believe there's a Fifth Ward meeting coming up soon?
On the 18th.
On the 18th, and then there's a second...
The 15th, I think it is.
Okay. And then there's a Second Ward meeting coming up on...
Second Thursday of September.
Okay, so before our next meeting in September. Would someone please remind me, this is a resolution, so it comes to council. If it goes to council next week, the resolutions, are they introduced and then voted on at a subsequent meeting, or is everything done at the one meeting?
Members of the committee, Joe McRae, Deputy City Manager. I do believe, and I'm looking at my city attorney there, that resolutions are one reading.
Right.
Ordinances
Okay.
are two readings.
Okay.
Resolutions are one reading.
Okay. Then I would suggest that we give out of courtesy to the Second Ward and the Fifth Ward aldermen to have their ward meetings, hopefully do their reach out to the community, and come back to the...
I'm happy to do that, but it won't be at my August meeting. Our agenda is already set for the August meeting.
Okay. Can you double up at have a joint Second and Fifth Ward meeting?
No, you don't want that.
Okay, you don't want that. Okay. I'm trying to help.
And I hear you. I hear you.
I mean, I guess if it's okay, if we look at this at the next council meeting, and I don't think I have to say it, but I'll say it just because I've heard it. I'm in full support of the superintendent of District 65. I'm in full support of the superintendent of 202. I have confidence in both school boards, and I also support the staff. And I think that this would be a wonderful opportunity for the staff, superintendent, to engage in community, particularly the parents there, and host your own meeting. And invite whatever flyering or outreach you need to do, and have that conversation on your grounds. And I think that you will then get everyone who's involved, and I'm not going to go on the diversity piece, but you'll see who shows up to those meetings, and then take the conversation and deal with it on your own. And then I think after that, we can then say, and I will show up there not as an alderman, but as a parent, because I want to participate in that conversation as well. So that would be my recommendation, and we'll hold it then till our next Human Services meeting.
No.
No? Well,
I've got Alderman Tindman and
Okay.
then Alderman Fist.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move that we do send this on to council. I think the broader community discussions can take place there. I think we've had a good discussion here tonight. I think I would like to open it up to a broader community discussion, obviously on whatever level we desire. We have a week, and I think that the timing though is critical, not critical, but it's important that I believe we can start the new school year with something in place that will give confidence to our officials and others at the school.
Alderman Biss.
Thank you. I agree that I would much prefer this to go to council, and I would like to, if we're going to do this, have something in place by the beginning of the school year. I think that will avoid some confusion. I'm going to take a little bit of an exception. I don't see this as the school district's responsibility to do reach out. It's before the council, and before our committee, and then to council. So I do think it's the alderman's responsibility to do some reaching out to in the community, and hopefully we can get people out and commenting at the city council meeting.
Well, I'm quite sure we'll get some people out, and I'm quite sure you'll get the people, and I'm sorry, and I hate to put it to this level, but Judy, we know we'll get the people out who look like you. They won't necessarily be people who look like me or who have the same concerns that I have of children and families who will be impacted that are like me. So I just want to say that. And I understand I might be standing here by myself in this, but that's okay. And, we just understand that you all had this already, so it's okay. But I want to be on record as to where I am with it. I see your light, Alderman Tennant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do think in the next week, which is what we're talking about, we can actually get some definitions of the questions that Mr. Mitchell had, and maybe at that point ask the police department to weigh in and get some of their thoughts, ideas of how this would be carried out without infringing on children, families, and others in the surrounding area.
Okay. No, her light's not on. Okay. You want your light on? Your light's not on. Oh, okay. Okay, so you have a motion. It's been moved in second. You call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. So it's a 3-2. Okay. So this will go on to the council agenda for August the 12th. Mm-hmm. All right. Then we'll move on to the assessor.
Alderman Holmes, can I just, again, we had a very nice discussion. You heard support for the students at the high school. And all I can do is encourage the staff and administration here. If nothing else, you didn't hear resistance from the community, just a request for more information. So for whatever timeline, with everything you have on your plate, I hope that you can have that community discussion. Thank you.
Okay, Assessor Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman Holmes. I'll wait a few minutes till I have your attention. I actually have two remarks to make. One is on the budget and one is an update on the assessor's office. Should I just give both of them now?
Yes, ma'am, please,
Okay.
and because then I need to get to citizens' comments about the township. Okay.
Okay. I'm Bonnie Wilson, Evanston Township Assessor. Right now I want to give you an update on the office, the assessor's office, and what is going on this month. According to the Board of Review Commissioner Michael Carpinaggi, 2013 Evanston Assessment Appeals opened today, August the 5th. The 2013 appeals will be accepted until Tuesday, September 3rd, and any change in your assessment takes effect on the 2013 second installment due next summer, a reduced assessment does not guarantee a reduced dollar amount of property taxes paid next year. You can file your appeal online now at the Cook County Board of Review, utilizing your property identification number, which is located on your tax bill. When you file, you need to give the Board of Review your phone number and email address. You may also contact my office for assistance with filing your 2013 assessment appeal, and we would be pleased to help you with your appeals. There will be an Evanston Township Tax Seminar hosted by the Cook County Commissioner Sefferden, Cook County Board of Review Commissioner Michael Carbonargi, State Senators Daniel Biss, Heather Stearns, State Representatives Robin Gable, Laura Fine, and Kelly Cassidy, and myself. The property tax seminar will be on Wednesday, August 21st, and the seminar will begin at 6:30 at the Evanston Public Library. The seminar will review how to file a property tax assessment appeal and other areas of interest to property taxpayers. It is essential for Evanston homeowners to appeal because Evanston properties were reassessed this year, and as a result, many Evanston homeowners' assessments were increased. In order to keep that assessment as low as possible, homeowners must appeal. The Cook County 2011 delinquent property tax sale started also today. All sold taxes must be paid through a redemption tax bill created by the Cook County Clerk's Office, and contact that office at 312-603-5656 for more information. During the last 2 months, my office helped 63 taxpayers correct their property tax bills for missed exemptions in the amount of $88,112. This brings the total for the first 4 months of the township's fiscal year to $128,739. For a short time longer, corrections on exemptions can still be made going back to 2008 taxes paid in 2009. Contact my office for help in filing corrections of previous missed exemptions. My office is located at 846 Dodge on the southwest corner of Dodge and Main. Our phone number is 847-332-2465, and we're open from 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. Please do not hesitate to call if you have any questions on your assessments or exemptions or would like to make an appointment. I encourage people to call our office. We are there to help you. And that's the update for the assessment. I would like the aldermen or the trustees to put this in any newsletter or information if they're having a meeting, to let their taxpayers know about this meeting that's coming up and about that they're open for appeals. Nicola, did they get this? I sent it to you today or last night. Did they get this in their emails? They did? So I'm just encouraging everyone to tell the people that come to your ward meetings about these, that we're open for appeals. Now I want to present, want to talk about the township budget. You now have been presented the Evanston Township Assessor's budget for 2013 and 2014. One of my increases in my budget is a 2.5% cost of living raise for my staff. I feel strongly that they should be compensated for the work that they did this year for the Evanston taxpayers, as this is the year of the reassessment, and with reassessment happening to come out just as the first tax bills came out, my staff have worked especially harder this year than in previous years when there was no reassessment. So I'm encouraging you to help me with the budget and helping me increase the budget and the salary for my staff. They do an excellent job, and they're always there to help help the taxpayers of Evanston and go beyond the duties of other assessors' office in Cook County. Also, I feel strongly that the township should not have to pay for the NOVAC management report. Even though you did not have a township meeting when the NOVAC representative came out, Mrs. Novak stated that her company, Novak, was hired by the City of Evanston to complete the management report, and if that is the case, why is the township paying for the report? It was very clear to me that Mrs. Novak was hired by the City of Evanston and not the township. I strongly feel, with that being the case, the City of Evanston should pay the $24,000 fee for the audit and not the township. Also, the township should have a legal budget to operate off of. Since our budget was not passed by the official deadline of June the 30th, the trustees should take a legal vote to extend the township 2012-2013 fiscal year budget until everything can be worked out with the 2013-2014 budget, because right now we don't have a legal budget that we can work from. Nobody passed a budget, and this is now the first week of August. And I have my one more last question because I have to say it. Now that Governor Quinn has signed legislation to have a referendum in Evanston to dissolve Evanston Township, what are the next steps that the city is planning to take to go ahead with that referendum? And that's it. Thank you very much.
All right, we have several speakers that want to speak about the township budget. Paul Selden, Kim Fisher, Seth Green, Madeline Decree, and I guess that's Miss Switchard already spoke. Betty Sue Esther, and I think that's it, and Miss Giles. Oh, Paul, I'm sorry, you first. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Paul Selden. I live at 1235 Maple, and I come here tonight representing 1235 Maple, not Connections. Mostly what I wanted to say is I have some questions about the township budget, which I hope you can get clarified at some point. My primary concern, of course, is the elimination of the township's commitment to the mental health board, but I have somewhat broader issues with the budget, so I'll focus on that. The budget represents, I think, certainly a departure from last year, and in general maybe from previous years. And those changes are crowding out its ability to commit funds to the mental health board, which obviously concerns me. It's essentially what's happening is that they're moving away from the administration of general assistance into case management. At least that's what I read in the budget. There's a hiring of 3 additional case managers, so that says to me that they're doing a lot more than they've done in the past in that area. It also shifts $95,000 away from the mental health board and towards employment programs and other things that are clearly no question they're important, but it is a significant amount of money to take away from the mental health board and the services that currently supports. But I'd like to really focus on the first one first. The current proposal indicates that general assistance will work with 125 individuals a month, and for that they need additional case management. And frankly, 125 is a lot for a single case manager. I mean, it's an enormous caseload. But to a certain extent, it comes down to what is the task that's being performed by the township. In the past, it was not a case management responsibility. It was basically a filing, application, approval, and then cutting checks on a relatively regular basis. So something additional is going on that's not explicit here, and that is maybe necessary, maybe good, but I just don't know what that is. If the township's going to meet with each client on a regular basis and to do case management, then you have to look at really of these 125 clients, how many are going to turn over in the course of a year? There are 151 clients right now. In order to have have 125 new clients in the coming year, all 151 of those would have to be terminated off the system. But there's no description anywhere of what the caseload is over the course of the year. Is it 151 people who get served in the course of a year, or is it 600 or 1,000 or 1,500? And that all has a measure says something about what the nature of the case management responsibility would be. Another question is really how many hours of case management services are these clients already receiving from Connections, Family Focus, Peer Services, the YMCA, YWCA, all of the other social service agencies in town that provide case management services? And is it necessary for the township to provide additional case management services on top of many other services that are already being provided? I'm not talking about case management services. While I'm talking about that, there's one other issue I wanted to look at, and that has the salaries that are listed in the salaries are certainly in line with what case managers are paid throughout the industry in this area. I have absolutely no quarrel with that, and I wish that they were all paid more. I wish I could pay my case managers more. But one of the things that really stood out to me is that the cost of fringe for city employees or township employees is about 50% of payroll. And, again, I think that would be wonderful if we could afford it. But I see that as, at an agency like Connections, we pay 21% over salary for ours. And so that's an additional 30% that's being tacked on precisely because this is a governmental entity that has some kind of negotiated rates and however they arrived at that rate now. It is an enormous amount of money. And I don't begrudge any employees of that, but I do question whether the township at this stage, particularly in this state, should be taking on services that are already being provided by others at much lower cost. As a taxpayer, that just seems to me to be not what we want to be doing now. Then there's just one last thing that I'll point to, and I may be entirely off base about this because, again, I don't really know the details behind this. There is a large increase here in medical spending, most of which is due to this suit by Walgreens for non-payment of medical expenses or medicines over the last year, $75,000. Now, I don't know under what circumstances the township dispenses, recommends, hands out, or do medical expenses that would somehow come from Walgreens, but I do know that at Connections, we have a fairly large staff that's responsible for that. We have an LCSW, a nurse, psychiatrist, 4 doctors, and these all play a role in dispensing medication. Now, we do a fraction of what the township does, but I don't see on the township rolls anyone with those kind of qualifications for dispensing medication. Now, maybe they're not dispensing medication. As I said, I can't read through the budget lines to know exactly what's going on. But I would guess that if the problem is that medication had been billed to Walgreens and they were not getting paid, and there's a dispute about that, the reason is probably because there's not enough tracking going on about that with qualified individuals. And so I would just ask that be clarified. Anyway, those are my comments. It's late. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher?
Hi, Kim Fisher, 1146 Elmwood. Madam Chair, Human Services Committee members, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Kim Fisher, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Evanston Mental Health Board, and I speak to you tonight on behalf of the entire board. Chair Stark had a work obligation and she could not attend tonight's meeting. First, we'd like to express thanks on behalf of the agencies we serve for the city's and the township's continued support of programs that serve Evanston residents. The monies that you set aside for community purchase services help provide many needed services to our fellow community members who have the highest needs. Specifically, the Mental Health Board makes recommendations for allocating Township and City of Evanston funds for community purchase services. As you know, community purchase services are purchased human and social services provided by nonprofit agencies, not the Township or the City. Mental Health Board recommendations are made through a rigorous agency vetting and grant application process. The city and the township purchase these services, and examples of some services are community-based housing and job support for individuals with mental illness, child care scholarships for low-income working families so children can participate in high-quality child care without interruption, day services and community-based living supports for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, day services and community-based, case management and counseling and housing transition services for individuals who are homeless, and family counseling for stressed families whose children may be at risk of abuse. These are just a few examples of some of the programs that we recommend. So specific to the township budget that's being discussed tonight, the Mental Health Board seeks clarification on 2 points. First, we seek clarification on the township's commitment to the 2013-14 funding of community purchase services recommended by the Mental Health Board. There's great confusion in the budget that was proposed, so we seek clarification on that. Secondly, in the cover letter of the revised budget, the township supervisor states the following, quote, "The budget does not anticipate funding any mental health board purchase of service contract in the 2014-15 budget," end quote. So as the mental health board is currently under deliberation of the fiscal year 2014 allocations, which would be affected by such a decision, we really seek clarification on this action so that we can plan accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Green.
Good evening, everyone. I will be brief because I'm really here to echo the 2 comments that you've heard. I'll add that and I'm sorry, I'm Seth Green, and I'm at 1236 Wesley Avenue. I feel very strongly that the Mental Health Board plays an indispensable role in this community. I think one of the words used was rigor, and I just want to affirm that for us, this has been a real opportunity to measure what we do and to present it every year. All of the agencies that are coming forward have that as part of their process, and I think that for us it's been a real elevation of our work. And I mean, just to speak from our specific statistics, we found last year kids that were in our after-school and mental health and clinical services, 71% improved their GPAs over the course of the year. Over 90% were improving social skills. I know all of the other agencies that are funded are having similar results, and so we feel like with those results, we really want to continue the process that the Mental Health Board has started and be continuing the funding. The other thing I'll just affirm is to say that I think that there's tremendous leverage. So we often talk about leverage when we think about economic development. Just to give you the context for YOU as an example, for every dollar that we receive from the Mental Health Board in this upcoming year budget, we'll be bringing in over $30 to Evanston for the purpose of serving kids. So we're getting about $100,000 from the Mental Health Board, which is extraordinary and is foundational and core to our work. And then we're bringing in over $3 million from either donors or 25 out of those $30 from outside this community to serve kids. And it's truly the Mental Health Board that seeds a lot of that, and then that brings in $30 for every child. And so when we think about the discussion that preceded this about what happens when we don't have preventive and long-term services and the issues that arise outside the school doors, I think it really affirms the need to invest in the long-term and in the results-driven work that has been happening. And so we hope that the township budget, and I understand from my brief conversation that it will, really affirms the Mental Health Board and the support for the community services. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Decree. I believe that's the next person. Township, yeah. She signed up for 3 things.
I just want to reiterate, I'm just going to be a minute. I want to reiterate that I do not agree with the city council and the trustee. That's conflicting to me. I will always believe that. But tonight, if you make a decision, it would be interesting to see how you vote on the consultant fee. Thank you.
Miss Esther.
First, I want to say the two speakers before, I agree with them, well, three, with the program as it was with giving the funds to the Mental Health Board for them to pass out to the agency. The other thing about this budget is there really has not been a public hearing on this budget. I have spoken to before the council, when the council was convened as the township board and the mayor was providing as the chairperson, I asked and have reiterated that, and she said that that would happen, that when you do having township meetings and stuff, that you have a agenda that says township trustee is meeting, not human service. Human service is the city. Township is the board of trustees. That was supposed to happen. That hasn't happened. In the report that we paid over $24,000 and $3,000 for the lady to come and tell us about it on July the 22nd, that we should reach out and make things clear so people can understand. How can someone understand when you have one paper that you're dealing with two issues, city business and township business? That is not hard to do, to separate those two things. Even if you separate it on the same sheet, top half is township, bottom half is city, or reverse. But put a clear, delineated things that says which is which. And if you cannot do that, then your constituents, the electors, will always be confused because they're thinking, okay, this is the human service meeting. This is for the city. I'm not going. But then they hear, well, you discussed township, but it didn't say township. So if you take anything from that report that we did, the first thing you need to do is start delineating that there is when you are operating as the trustee and when you're operating as the council, people won't be confused. The other thing is, by law, we should have a public hearing, and a public hearing is not part of another meeting. It is its own separate meeting. That probably won't happen with this budget, but I'm telling you, for the next year, hopefully you will do that. I urge you, I plead with you to do that. Plus, two, this budget has in it things that has totally got away from what the state mandate that the general assistant should do. There are several items on there where they talk about the outreach, the organizer, the person to help with the immigration, and a couple of other things. Those are not service that the township general assistant program should do. If you look at the Illinois Township Handbook, it states food, utility, housing, clothing, and medicine. Not no job fair, not no educational seminar for the community. That is not his function. That is not his job. If you approve this budget, then you are misappropriating and wasting taxpayer money. You are spending it on the wrong thing. That handbook is over at the city, over at the township office. They have printed a new one, and it clearly states what it should be. You go on the website, say, give me the handbook information, and it says these are the things that the township funds should be spent on: clothes, fooding, and shelter. And it gives them some leeway to give for other service, like through the mental health board, but that's not the general assistance fund, that's the town fund. Those are for service that they are to help people. They are not educating, it's always service to help people. and it is very clear as to who they can be helping. So, again, make the distinction, please. I know you have a tough job. I appreciate y'all doing this and everything, but all I ask is that township says township on a piece of paper. And if you're doing it on the same piece of paper to say front and back, that's okay. Or if you're doing it on the same side. But tell it so that the people, the voters, the electors, the city, anybody that picks it up will know that, okay, there's two meetings that are going to happen tonight. One thing they're going to talk about township, the other is city business. So please do that and do not approve this budget because it has things in it that should not be. He need to go back and rectify it, and then you should have a public hearing on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Esther. Ms. Giles, you're next.
My name is Priscilla Giles, and I live at 1829 Ashland. I feel that the City Council and the Board of Trustees should be separate people. I don't see how you can honestly and clearly wear two different hats and be supportive of one group of people when you represent another group of people. All of the agencies should be fully funded to serve all of the people who need to be serviced, and not having a certain amount of money that would be spent for a number of people without looking at the people who need to be served. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that's the last person I have on my list, unless I missed someone. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak on the township? If not, oh, I'm sorry. Did you? I signed up on a list. Okay, you probably signed up in the sign-in. That's okay. Come on up and identify yourself.
My name is Kirsten Luna, and I'm here representing Shore Community Services. We service individuals with intellectual disabilities of all ages in Skokie and Evanston. And we are very concerned about the township budget and how that will affect our residents in the Evanston supported living arrangement who no longer get DHS grant funding and are very dependent on Evanston Mental Health Board funding just to maintain our programming and services. Some of those people have been living with us for over 20 years. We also have programming for adults with developmental disabilities, the Lois Lloyd Center in Evanston, and we also receive Evanston Mental Health Board money for that as well, and just hope that we will be included in the budget and that our Evanston residents are considered in the township budget.
Thank you. I'd like to do two things. First, I think we should consider a motion to extend the 2013 budget so we can pay the bills, and then we can get into discussing the budget in terms of where we want to go with that. Please.
Motion to extend the 2013 budget for the township.
2012.
I'm sorry, 2012, for the township of Evanston.
Well, yeah, it's due on the agenda for the August 12th budget, but I'm not sure what's going to happen then. So, well, I don't want it for the 12th because I'm not sure that's going to happen. I just want to make sure that we can pay the township bills. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, is to make sure that we can do that. Is that our? I saw the look. Yeah. Just want to make sure that we could do that.
Corporation Counsel.
Yeah. I saw the look on his face. Yeah.
Assistant City Attorney Henry Ford here. There appears to be an issue since obviously there's not a budget approved for the 2013-2014 fiscal year. And in terms of the city, terms of the law department providing advice to the township board, which is the client in this case, there's it's unclear whether you can extend that budget. I mean, forward. I mean, there's a possibility you can use reserves possibly from the last budget that are there to pay these current bills, but to extend the budget, there's some unclarity there.
In line, and I just don't want us to fall into a problem of not getting the bills paid. And we need to do that. So I'm trying to figure out a way to do that, and then we can move on with the discussion of the budget, because I think the budget is going to be a discussion.
Understood.
Could we ask Ms. Weidman?
Good evening, everyone. Can we do what we did last year and make a 6-month budget, which will take us into September, and hopefully way before then, the budget would be satisfied? We did that last year. We did 2 6-month budgets.
That's a possible option, and then they can do amendments.
Right.
Possibly going forward.
Is that the same as an extension? I was thinking that was. Is that not the same as an extension?
No, it would be the 20. I mean, it's the 2013-2014 budget, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Two 6-month pieces to it. Okay.
Right, because my understanding that there's already the 3 months. The 3 months have expired from April to June.
Right.
So we're not going to it. I mean, was that also an extension? Was that an extension of the 2012-2013 budget? That's not. To me, that's just you just had a budget approved for 3 months. You're basically doing another budget.
What, 3 more months,
for 3
and
more
then
months.
and by September, then we'd have to do it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, can we do that?
I believe that's an option.
Okay. Well, Alderman Burris, will you make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, could you just repeat
I
that?
actually,
I'm sorry.
I need to, thank you, Alderman Fisk. I think we need more clarification on exactly what that means as far as the money, which budget, what are they going to be able to use the money to do? Because I think the one that's proposed tonight, I can't imagine, as far as I can tell, no one is excited about the budget proposed tonight. So what can, again, if we extend, Alderman Fisk, I think you're asking the same question. What can the money be spent on? Because what's in here now, I don't think is acceptable for
Right,
most
and
of us.
I'm not advocating. I mean, I'm not.
And that's what I'm asking is, what are we extending for what services to pay? Do we need to be very specific about that, as we did in the last one, I guess, 4 months ago, whatever that was?
It's
That's
for
why I said to pay the
outstanding
bills.
bills, is my understanding.
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
So no hiring new staff,
No.
no reduction in anything going to the mental health board. There's just a lot of issues. Okay, so
That's
just
minor.
paying the bills.
Just paying the bills.
That's all I need to know.
Correct.
Thank you.
And that would include the staff that has to be paid. Okay, absolutely. That's all I was asking for. Alderman Fisk.
Mr. Ford, I had a question for you. So tell me how this is characterized. This is not characterized as an extension. Is this characterized as the 2013-2014 budget?
It's a 6 month. It's just a 6-month budget.
But is it a 6-month budget for 2013-14?
Right. It's through September 30th, 2013. Correct. So it's for fiscal year 2013-2014, but it's from April through the end of September 2013, and then they would have to do another budget for the remaining months.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay. Okay, can we get us?
I'll second.
Is that your-
Yeah.
You say what he said. What he said, and I'll second it.
My understanding from what Alderman Holmes suggested is that the recommendation is just to pay the outstanding bills. It's not to approve what was presented in this budget in the packet. It's just to pay the outstanding bills.
I make a motion that we allow the township to continue to pay their bills through September 30th, 2013.
I'll second.
Okay, and that's good enough.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
That seems to be something that's possibly doable. Yes, correct. Another
It
question?
has to do in current bills.
I'm happy for an amendment, Alderman Fisk, on this.
No. And that's exactly what I don't want to do. I don't want to amend that, but I also don't want to call this the 2013-14 budget.
Well, you can't call it anything else, but I mean, it's coming out of the allotment for 2013, 2014. I mean, it has to. There's no other place for it to come from. Right?
Because it goes 2014.
See, their budget starts April 1.
I know all
Their fiscal
that.
year is April through March.
I know.
Okay.
Well, I'm going with Alderman Burris's motion.
Okay, so we're paying the past due and current bills of the township for between any bills that we've had between April and September
Correct.
30th. That's what we're talking about. Are we all in agreement with that?
That's all we're talking about.
And that's all.
Are they in agreement too? I think that's.
No.
Well, no, I
They
mean,
don't.
no, well, I only could advise the board, so,
Well,
yeah.
and that's another issue that we need to speak on too.
I'm sorry.
As far as
Come to the mic.
What comes to you?
well, that's another issue that we need to talk about tonight. Supervisor Gaspar would like for Grant Farrar to represent the township, and I sent you guys a memo.
Yeah, and that's not possible. The committee is the town.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe that was clear. I'm sorry, Ms. Wyman, would you introduce yourself?
I'm sorry. My name is Valerie Whiteman. I am the confidential accounts human resource manager for the township. But if we handle the budget, then in that 6 months increment, that will allow us to pay the bills and to move successfully to the city in September.
It's my understanding that just bills and payroll, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But that would include moving costs, so,
Right.
because they have to get here. Yes.
Correct.
Right. Okay. And that's all we're asking for tonight. And then we're going to move on to the budget. Okay. So I just
That's
want to
fine.
get that piece taken care of. And then I have questions on the bills as well. Okay. Yeah, because it's money, right? Alderman, can you call the roll for us? I'll ask Mrs. White to call the roll for us because it's dollars.
Alderman Fisk?
Yes.
Alderman Braithwaite?
Aye.
Alderman Burris? Alderman Tedman?
Aye.
Alderman Holmes?
Aye. Okay. Now, okay, so that will be, just so everybody's clear, we're paying your bills from April through September. So that'll be past due or current bills. Now, on the current bills, I don't know if anybody else has any question. I have one question. Go ahead. Do you have, Alderman Burris, you have a question?
It's not on the specific bills, it's on the overall budget, so if you have on the bills, go right ahead.
I just want, because it's a bill that has to be paid. I have to get to the page, but Supervisor Gaspar, we have a new, and I don't know if you'll answer, if it'll be Ms. Weidman, but in looking at the bills, I noticed a new landlord, I guess, because I've never seen it before. Skyline at Evanston LLC. I'm not sure what that is. And the amount just seemed to be a little bit larger than what we normally would be paying for rent. So I would like to understand what that is.
Good evening, trustees, Madam Trustee, Chairperson. And I have, before I answer this question, I have like to say, make it clear that there were a lot of confusion of that you just passed. I think the lawyer need to check before he does, because the meeting is like Ms. Prior Speaker, Ms. Bessie Hurst stated that this is really not aligned with the township. And in regard of you, and also I would like to make a clear clarification. And I understand that Ms. Whiteman just stated that she is the human resource manager for the township. It's not. We want to make clear that it's not. That's not the correct title. So we just want to make this clear. In regard of the emergency,
Wait, let's just be clear, so that we're not confused in terms of the your question about whether we are legitimate. No, wait a minute. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
A legitimate body to hear the township. I mean, this is way we're.
No, I'm afraid to. I'll go along with you, but I'm afraid to say no, it's not.
No, what I'm simply saying is the attorney is here tonight speaking for us as a Human Services Committee, which the township answers to or reports to the Human Services Committee. That's the way it's been said.
I only request or suggest that he check the law before he advises you what to do. And let me make clear that under my administration, the mental health board is not at risk of losing any fund. And I am sorry for the confusion. I am sorry for the introduction. And this is what happened when you were leaving your work to your staff, sometime and not double check and a lot of confusions. And to the community, I am a mental health worker currently. I'm working on my LSW. I am for mental health. I just want everybody to know that. And in terms of the Skyline emergency assistant that you'll find, you saw, Madam Chair, it's approved by a caseworker, experience, and it's a need of a client. And I really don't know why I have to answer that question. Sorry.
Well, because it's a new vendor. That's what I mean. We have we have questions.
I may have to go back and find out how we can add the new vendor, because the client came in and applied for emergency assistance and sat down with supposedly an experienced caseworker. He approved it without my approval. So, and this is how it goes.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I do not know. Do we have to put vendor to? Do we have to work with the vendor on the side to put that in the system? It's only went to the through the emergency assistance.
Mr. Gaspar, I'm asking the question because I've never seen this vendor before, and I wanted to know who the vendor is. It says
I believe the vendor. The vendor is 415 Premier Apartment. I believe they call it Sky. 415 Howard Premier Apartments. It's the high-rise where I live,
right.
And apparently, this client live in the same building as I am.
I think they have like a couple different, like it's 415 something Skyline. So I think we just need to verify that. But I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is there anybody else have a question? You had a question, Alderman Verse.
I actually
An answer to mine.
Well, I want to actually make sure to address to the city attorney the resolution or the motion that we just made about the 2013-2014. I think we may have done that incorrectly. So can you check on that? I mean, obviously you can't do it right the second, so I don't mean to put you on the spot. But I believe what we should have done was actually do an extension, because there isn't a 2013-2014 budget yet. It should be, we're going from the budget of last year and we're allowing expenses to be paid. So I really think it's the 2012-2013 budget. No, yeah, 2012-2013 budget that we're continuing. But can you make sure to check that for the proper language? And sorry, I just, I appreciate that. All Are we now talking about this current budget?
Unless there are any other questions about the bills, I just want to make sure that we have that so we can get past the
Right. Okay, great.
Now we can go to the budget. Yes, I'm sorry.
Fabulous.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. Miss Esther, I think she's gone now, but.
No, she's not here. She's.
Oh, you moved. You can't move like that. You're always over here. I agree with your comments about the trustee city business should be more clearly defined. I think that does become an issue for many people. The budget that was presented to us is completely out of line. I know Mr. Gaspard said that the mental health board would not be reduced funds. I think that that's not really clear. We need to make sure that the mental health board is getting funding. I also want to address Mr. Selden as well as Mr. Green's comments. We have outstanding and numerous not-for-profits in this community that are delivering services and casework. And it seems that hiring more caseworkers would be extremely duplicative for the township to do that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. The overhead or the indirect, I guess you would call on the salary lines, is outrageous. We have a fiscal problem in this community, and to present a budget like this, I think is insulting to the township trustees. I think it's insulting to the not-for-profit community that does such amazing work here, that we should be partnering with them more versus trying to take on something independent. I think it doesn't recognize the non-binding referendum that was voted on by this community. The community outreach and engagement coordinator position, why would we spend money on something like that when we could be using those dollars to help people directly, that we have so much need here? I really think the budget needs to go back and completely be gutted and really know the community, work with the mental health board, work with the other not-for-profits in the community. There is no way that I could vote for anything on this.
May I? Yes. Madam Trustee, we all do respect that the township supervisor has, all due respect, again, the township supervisor has the full control, the whole control of the GA funds. So this is something that if it deemed necessary to provide, and I just passed this around, I took it from the Illinois law this morning. So if it's come with the GA funds and we see that there is a need to move the township forward, it does. And I take notes from everyone who spoke here before me, from Mr. Savon, Ms. Fisher, Mr. Green. I do respect every agency of mental health. First of all, let me make this clear. Before the township supervisor was leaving, the past one, she sent me an email. She said that you have no funds for the mental health board. And I sat with the financial person in at the township. I said that I want to make sure that everyone gets their a fair share, what they used to have. However, what I was tempted to do not list, that would cause a problem, of course, do not list any agency in particular, but put the amount of money we gave out last year, put it for service when they ask, because I feel that the township is not really well recognized for what it has been doing. I like the fact that everyone from those agencies coming now and say how good the township, and I want to hear that more, and that's what I will continue to work with them to do that. And the second part of the question is that if we hire caseworkers, it will be duplicated service. Madam Trustee, no, it's not. I'm not here to duplicate to judge any a previous mental health or agency organization that provides service to our clients. I just want the township to do more than signing checks. I run on moving the clients forward, not to keep them every 6 months renewing, sign a check. I want to jump into, because this is what I do, this is what I like to do. I like to help people to move forward. I do not want to keep it's the same thing as a baby. You have a baby, you feed the baby until the baby grow, and you let the baby move forward. But I'm not saying my client, please do not disrespect, I don't disrespect my client, but I want my clients, I want to be able to see them, just like one speaker here mentioned. I want to be able to see them on a regular basis and see why a client is renewed the service. Why do we have to give the client service again? What do we have to do? I would like, as a matter of fact, I would like the township to be a resource center to help people in Evanston. So, and that's what I'm doing. What I have thinking about doing is not, there is no agency has been doing that. Speaking of the immigration, for instance, I am on the immigration listserv, and I receive immigration emails on a regular basis. I have a pretty good idea what immigration laws is. I'm not the lawyer. But there was, right before I got elected, the immigration service office had a grant out there, and I would like the township to apply for grants too. And unfortunately, it's only for agencies that provided immigration service. And I call the city manager and see how can he help us to get that grant. But he found out that we need somebody who has provided that kind of service before. Unfortunately, there's limited. So I want to do that. I would like, it's still about moving client forward. I would like to send, I'm in the process of working with immigration office, like Jen Shakasky and other agency that we can help people with the immigration. So.
I think that others have questions as well.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of baffled by this all, but Mr. Gaspard, I get the sense that you've not quite gotten out of campaign mode, and while you have a lot of good ideas, I think in thinking fresh, new ideas is good. By your own admission, you say you don't. I think you have no oversight of the township office.
Not office, the GA funds.
Well,
yeah,
correct,
oversight. Yeah, right.
Which is a significant part of your
yes.
budget. I do think, you do have to assume that role immediately,
yes,
or immediately as of your date of being sworn in, and I think along with everything else, we're going to be looking for that.
Oh yes, yes. I am. I'm trying to sit in them. The day that I took office, and this is an office that pretty much played the whole role to an elected official and a supervisory task. And what I wanted to do, I sit down with my staff and see what we need to do and to get the township moving. And I ask, for instance, to sit down with my clients on a regular basis, so to see what can we do to move them, and if they need referral services like, let's say, mental health, so we can send them to get, we know some of our clients meet a lot of barriers, like mental health and criminal background, stuff like that. Yes, we have changed even the aspect of the township. When you go to the office right now, lots of clients told me that they feel different, they feel welcome.
That's fine. I just think that a lot of work needs to be done.
Yes.
And it's fine. I understand you have a lot of ideas, and it's great. That's what you campaigned on, and that you want to live up to that,
Yes.
fulfill that campaign promise. But it just seems like some immediate supervision and understanding of your staff's roles is imperative.
Yes, yes. By the same token, in order for us, for the township to move, we do need manpower, and I would like the township to look a year later. When you look at the township, it doesn't look like the same a year ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. I want the township to look different. Yes, I want to.
I have two more lights, but before I say that, using your analogy of baby, I just want to remind you: don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just remember that, okay?
Exactly.
Alderman Breathwaite.
Nobody has said throwing any babies out right now. Especially, I said the mental health. I'm working with them. Where I started to say that, and then. The Living Township supervisor sent me an email that says there was no money for mental health. And I said with the staff, and I said, I want every mental health organization in town to receive the funds. I said that. So that's why the introduction of the budget is wrong, and I take responsibility for that. I should have read it, and this is what happened, because it's really confusing for what inside the budget and what in the introduction of the budget. Totally different. Conflict. I'm sorry, Madam Trustee. Yeah.
Thank you, Alderman Holmes. Thank you, Alderman Holmes. I want to go back to a couple of comments. First of all, the resident that stood up at the mic, and Betty Sue Esther, you have been very clear in your comments this evening, more clear than in the past. And so you asked the question of, is there a conflict with our board? And so my response to that is that the same taxpayer dollars that fund the township, they come out of my pockets also. So I'm deeply concerned with the clients that are served, and those clients are residents that live in Evanston, and a large number of them live in the 2nd, 5th, 9th, and 8th Ward. I think it's clear tonight, and Trustee Gaspard, you indicated that in your opening statements about just a little bit of confusion. And so I'm looking at the time, and it's sort of like eating an elephant. I don't know where to start. And so my concern would be, and I'm kind of looking to the committee, is, how do we've given ourselves, 3 months to come up with this, and I don't feel like we're going to be able to hash this out tonight. I'm just being honest. And rather than go back and forth, I want to find a meaningful solution with the time that we have. I mean, literally, I feel like there needs to be time carved out, and I don't know who does it, just to be able to go through this line by line to where we can at least get to a point where, as a committee, we can push it on to council.
I think maybe that we could hold it in committee, and I know that I believe that Matt has been assigned to work with you as a staff. Is that correct?
Excuse me, am I confused on that? Because I believe last Monday, you, Alderman Holmes, Trustee Holmes, and Trustee Breathwaite, we sat down here and worked. I believe this revised budget is although we were not aligned with the township law, but is your budget, isn't it?
This my budget? Are you kidding, Mr. Gaspard? Now wait a minute. I had 2 meetings with you because the budget was so embarrassing that I asked that it be held. Now I didn't want to go there, but I will go there.
I am sorry.
And I tried to sit with you to help you to understand. You did not take any kind of recommendations that we made. Come on, Mr. Gaspar. Now you want to go there, so I will go there with you.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Trustee Holmes.
Alderman Breathwaite and I were there with you as well as Ms. Weidman.
I'm sorry.
To tell you the kinds of things I said. If we have questions, Mr. Gaspar, everybody else is going to have questions about this budget because it doesn't make sense. Is that not what we talked about?
I'm sorry, Trustee Holmes. If I really understand that every single page in the budget, you work on it, and this is your numbers. That's all I said.
No, that's
and
not
it's
true.
Really
that's not
different
true. I
than
can't let you
what
say
we had
that.
on the file. So
I cannot let you. I will not allow you to lie on me in public. Now I'm just going to put it as plainly as that. What we suggested to you, I suggested to you, begged you as of last Monday. I can go line by item. We asked you about the mental health board and the agencies that needed to be funded.
That was an illegal meeting, by the way, but I just
it might have been illegal. You can call it illegal if you want. I called ourselves trying to support you and help you to appear before this committee, to have the kind of conversation. I was trying to avoid this kind of conversation, and to ask you to look at the budget and to think about the kinds of things that were being proposed. And I'm not going to speak for Alderman Breathwaite, he can speak for himself, suggested that you partner, just like it's been suggested tonight, with maybe the Youth Job Center for your job fair, with other agencies that provided the same services that you had put in your budget, that needed to be partnerships. Is that not what I said? All of those things are the
what
things.
you say now, I do take into consideration. Speaking of, the introduction in the budget and with the budget, I totally take responsibility for it. Then I am going to revise it and look at it because it's right. Like a speaker before just said, that is no. And we thought that we sat down the other day last Monday. Then I wanted to work with you, and everything you said, then we agreed.
I got three lights: Alderman Breathwaite, Alderman Fisk, and then Alderman Burris, and then we can move on. Okay. I am not going to go through this.
I was going to make a recommendation that we hold it. But I feel like I don't want to be disrespectful and ask you to make your comments. But at the end, I will ask to hold, so we can get through the
Well, clearly we've lost our way. There's no question about that. My strong recommendation, and I agree we absolutely have to hold this. My strong recommendation is that you continue to work with Matt, but you meet with your staff and talk with your staff. Yeah. And I don't need an exchange. I'm just telling you my recommendation. And then come back to our committee, and we will help you in whatever way we can. But there's clearly work that needs to be done before you come back to us.
Exactly. Now this, may I?
Yes.
Now this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over the budget myself, and then I meet with the staff to get clarification, because I trust my staff just like we trust them to Trustee Frisk. Yes.
Well, I'm not sure that anyone's understanding what the job is here, and that's my concern.
I agree with you.
And yes. You need to tell us that you understand that and convince us, because we can't go through this any longer.
No. I appreciate it.
Alderman Burris.
Actually, Matt, hi. You've been assigned, correct, to help out here. Do you have any recommendations? I'm thinking Matt can be the helpful person to take some of the stuff we've talked about tonight and to work. I agree with Alderman Fisk and Alderman Braithwaite that we need to definitely to hold it, but we need to have a plan to really help bring something back that we can really respond to. So any thoughts? And Mr. Ford, legally, what can we do as a committee to share information with Mr. I can't pronounce it, Swinkowski. Matt. To give him information, because we know obviously we can't do it as a committee unless it's a public meeting. So can you help us find our way here? Because I think we're all struggling with wanting to give direction and help, but it's just too overwhelming, and we don't. Am I getting nods? Yes, here.
I think you are, Alderman Burris, and I just want to say, because I have to say I don't lose my temper in public often, but I am, because I really thought that we were trying to assist Mr. Gaspar by pointing out places that we saw needed to be worked on in the budget. And that was a whole reason. Public meeting, had one right here in the Automatic Library, met with him at his office, just to point out, not to tell him what to do, but to say these are the kinds of things that we're concerned about. And if we have questions like this, other people will have questions. I just don't get it. It doesn't make it our budget. It's trying to get you to understand or to see that some help has to be taken from someplace. As simple as that.
I hear you, Madam Trustee.
Yeah.
But
I do have
go
just
ahead.
two quick
Go ahead,
questions before we move to hold. And there are a couple of things. One that was brought up by one of the residents, and then another question and concern that I have. So the first thing that was brought up by one of the residents was the $75,000 expense from Walgreens. And I think that he misunderstood, or it wasn't clear to me, kind of the details behind that. So maybe it would be helpful to hear from the township staff exactly what that $75,000 and sort of the history behind it. And I just want to, because I think it's time sensitive, and I want to make sure that that's okay, that they pay that. And then the other question that I have, which is a real slippery slope, actually two other questions. The payment for the consulting fees that we also heard in public comments, is that something that we're going to deal with? And then my third, again, slippery slope. We understand that our corporate counsel cannot represent the township, and I think we would be crazy to think that we're not going to see some legal fees at some point. So I'd much rather put that out there now than try to deal with it on the back end. And so maybe we start with Walgreens right now for the first question, and then the other two, I'll open it up for conversation. Sorry.
Thank you.
Well, since we did not get a motion to pay the bills, we were paying the bills, but we didn't move it. Okay. I believe, am I correct? We did not carry it all the way through to a vote.
Yeah, we did.
Did we? Oh, okay. Okay.
But there was
All right.
There was a question from Trustee Burris whether the distinction between whether it's the extension of 2012, 2013 versus 2013, 2014 for 6 months.
Okay. All right.
And then the issue with the Walgreens, is that for discussion or?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because
Madam Chair, if that's all right.
In terms of paying it, I mean, we've already motioned to pay the bills. That's what we said, current and past bills we were paying. And the Walgreens is a settlement. So you want her to explain what that settlement is?
Well, just briefly give us some history, and just with an understanding, because, I mean, if we see that, I'll let you explain and see if anyone else has any questions.
Hi.
Thank you.
The gentleman, I think he was from Connections, from the homeless. I think he thought we disperse drugs, and we do not.
And not, absolutely.
So I think that's where his confusion was. We
Right.
do not disperse drugs.
Absolutely.
The Walgreens settlement came about because we were the one township that was allowed to pay them at the Illinois Department of Public Aid payment rate. All the other townships pay whatever the actual bill is. So we had entered into an agreement with them years ago. In 2010, they came to the office. We sat down, we talked. They wanted us to pay at a higher rate, but they wanted the formula from IDHS. We tried to get that formula, and we couldn't get it. So about a year later, we kept business as usual. We got a demand for payment. And I gave you guys a memo. The demand for payment was, I think, $161,000. I negotiated a settlement with a lawyer, Richard Collins for $75,000, and we will be paying that real soon, like within the next week or so. So now we have a better contract for Walgreens' sakes, and that stopped us from having to tell our clients that we could not fund them for drugs. Right. It's not a bill yet.
It will be
It will be in the near.
It will be when in the next, probably in the next bill thing. So you.
It'll probably be in the next 2 weeks.
It can't come, Judy. It can't. We can't pay it until it comes on our bill list.
No, but that's
She's talking about paying it
right in
Well,
at least 2 weeks.
It would that be within
But it will
the 12th?
appear, right.
It'll come before us for the 12th. We should have it. It should be on the bills list for them by then. I'm not going to look for it now.
Is that okay? Anything else?
Okay. All right. You have a couple other questions, Alderman Breathwaite? You said you wanted to discuss the contract or the consultants, is what you wanted to discuss that?
Again, slippery slopes. In the provision, just so when this comes to council, that there's no confusion. So I don't. I would just like to move forward with a hold. That's what I'll do, and I'll put a pass on the questions.
Well, that's what we're doing, is holding that. So
Yeah.
are you bringing to our attention that somebody might raise the question at the council in terms of the consultant bill? Is that what you're saying? I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
I just think that those three things are issues that will come up over the next 3 months. And so right now, I just want to move to hold.
Okay.
But-
That's fine. You
Yeah,
got that.
we get-
It's been moved and second? Are all in favor? Yep.
Yeah.
Any opposed? Okay. All right.
Does anybody know when our next full I just don't have the date, the full trustee meeting is? I mean, we may want to have a meeting sooner rather than later with Paul.
We should go on the 12th. We should go into a trustee meeting for the budget.
Great. I think there's a lot of questions that probably all the trustees.
However, based upon tonight, in terms of where we are, we'll have to discuss how.
Right, no,
that's
but
going
I just think that a lot of things have been brought up that others may want to talk about as well, is my only point.
Absolutely.
Last month, with the meeting being canceled, I sent you a memo. Supervisor Gaspar would like to have medical insurance. I told him that was anything to do with his compensation would be something that you guys would have to approve. So that he would like an answer on. And he would also like to change his payroll dates, and that's something else that you would have to approve because it would be somewhat of an added cost.
Okay, we'll take
it up. Okay.
On the 12th.
All right.
All right. Okay, is there, Miss Esther?
Thank you. I wanted to kind of something to clarify for Alderman Breakaway and the council. I did mention the Novak report and everything and what was in there. There is an item about the Novak report that's in the budget, but since you're holding the budget, there's no need to discuss that issue. Not on my part until we get to the budget and discuss it again. Mm-hmm. But at some point, I hope the city council kind of received the report, but who's going to discuss the report with the whole community? Is it going to be the Human Service Report the Board of Trustees, the Township Board of Trustees? Will y'all discuss that report and the finding of the Novak people with the community? Or will that be the city council that will be discussing that report. But since it was ordered and paid for by the city council, that's an issue I have to bring up at the council meeting. But I think it should be discussed with the Board of Trustees. People will understand it better. That was all. So it wasn't not to confuse, although there is an item in there about that. But since you're holding the budget, there's no reason to discuss that part.
So we
Out of
just
my
make
head.
sure that it's listed under the trustees' agenda rather than under the council's agenda. That's what you're really saying. I mean, that's what I'm hearing anyway.
Well, yes, if you're going to discuss the report with the community, let it be with the township and the Board of Trustees, even though the city did pay for the report.
Not sure who paid for the report. Okay. All
Well,
right.
that's what Wally said at the 22nd meeting.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else? Well,
Are we on communications?
Do we have communications?
Is Director Thomas Smith in the room, or did she leave?
She has communication?
Oh, okay.
She has communications?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to talk briefly about Pink Heel Tours. That's going to be, oh, good. A really cool event that I had an opportunity just to do a little bit of work on with Director Thomas Smith. But within the past couple of, 30 days, she's pulled together a really cool event that I'd love for you to share with our residents, please.
Thank you. Yvonne Thomas Smith, Health Director. We are having a phenomenal event on Wednesday, and it took a collaborative team to pull this off. It was health and fire and police and Alderman Braithwaite and community business members. We're having a Pink Heels tour. That's going to be Wednesday, August 7th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's going to be in Dempster Dodge Plaza, and basically what it is an entourage of pink fire engines and pink police cars to bring cancer awareness to any community. This is a statewide initiative. The pink engines travel throughout the state, and the engines are coming from Schaumburg, and they're going to come and spend the day with us to raise awareness about women's cancers. We're going to have screenings, face painting, and fingerprinting IDs by our police department. So it'll be a lot of fun, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., Dempster Dodge Plaza. And we will have free screenings and fun for everyone, and it's to raise awareness about women's cancers. Okay? So join us. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other communications? If not, just remind everyone that tomorrow night is National Night Out. So please attend the event that's in your community. If not, come join us at Church and Dodge. We'll be there from 6 until about 9, and we'll be doing the candlelight visual. Actually, we'll be doing a pin light, courtesy of the Health Department, a pin light visual this year. So we'll be doing that probably around 8:30 because it'll be kind of dusk about that time. Other than that, can we have a motion to adjourn?
I don't mean
I know you
to
can't.
tip you off, but